Today we will discuss about lab diagnosis of sore throat. Sore throat is basically acute pharyngitis, and this is upper respiratory tract infection. Now, respiratory tract has been divided into two parts, upper respiratory tract and lower respiratory tract. Upper respiratory tract infection is termed as URI or acute pharyngitis. So the throat means oropharynx, nasopharynx and up to larynx, the portion has been included in upper respiratory tract, and the below larynx, the part is known as lower respiratory tract. So whenever there is infection at the level of oropharynx or nasopharynx or up to larynx or sinuses, this is known as URI or upper respiratory tract infection. So how we will define sore throat as? Sore throat is basically pain or irritation of the throat, or we can call it as acute pharyngitis, means inflammation of throat. Inflammation of throat is known as acute pharyngitis, and sore throat and acute pharyngitis are synonymous. This is a common physical symptom and presented in form of pain or irritation of throat. Now, what are various causes of sore throat? The causes may be infectious. Among the infectious causes, the causative agent may be viruses, they may be bacteria, like then there can be causative agent in form of mycoplasma, chlamydia. Among fungus, only candida can cause the infection of throat, or acute pharyngitis can be caused by candida. And if we talk about parasite, no parasite can cause acute pharyngitis or sore throat. So parasites are excluded from the list of causative agents. Then allergic. The sore throat can be allergic also, allergic rhinitis. Acid reflux. This can be due to acid reflux, or trauma, like swallowing a chicken bone can also cause trauma at the level of throat, and this can lead to sore throat or irritation in the throat. Some chemical irritant or burn can lead to sore throat. Chemical irritants, if they are taken by oral route or if they are inhaled, they can also cause burn at the level of throat and leading to the sore throat. Epiglottitis, thyroiditis and retropharyngeal abscess, they are also included in sore throat. Now, among the causative agent, if we talk about the viruses, mainly rhinoviruses, basically they causes rhinitis or common cold. So, rhinovirus, coronavirus, adenovirus, herpes simplex virus, parainfluenza virus, influenza virus, Coxsackie-A, Epstein-Barr virus, cytomegalovirus, and rarely HIV type 1 in its initial stages can cause sore throat. So, these are the viral agents which are responsible for causing sore throat. Among bacteria, Group A beta hemolytic streptococci, that is Streptococcus pyogenes. This is the number 1 among all bacteria causing sore throat. This can lead to pharyngitis and tonsillitis and can represent in form of scarlet fever. Then Group C and Group G streptococci, they can also cause pharyngitis. Neisseria gonorrhoeae rarely can cause pharyngitis. Corynebacterium diphtheria and ulcerans both can cause pharyngitis. Archaeobacterium hemolyticum, this can also cause pharyngitis. Then chlamydia and mycoplasma, they can also cause pharyngitis. Although they are responsible for causing lower respiratory tract infection mainly, but they can cause URI as well. Then this Epstein-Barr virus and Coxsackie virus, they are responsible for causing infectious mononucleosis, which can represent in form of pharyngitis. As I told you, among the fungi, only Candida albicans can cause pharyngitis, whereas no parasite can cause pharyngitis, or parasites are nil causing pharyngitis. Now the causes and transmission. If we talk about a streptococci which can cause pharyngitis, how the infection is transmitted, how we can acquire pharyngitis or sore throat. Obviously, when we come in contact with a person or someone who is infected, already infected with viral agent or bacterial agent, then that infected person can transmit infection among us. Then secondly, by sharing water bottles and then touching door knobs, desk, etc., which have the causative agent or which are infected with the causative agent, which may be in form of bacteria or virus. So this is transmitted mainly when we come in close contact with someone who is infected one, and then sharing water bottle and touching door knob, desk, or sharing these handkerchief, etc., can also cause this sore throat, or pharyngitis can also be caused by that. And usually pharyngitis occurs in cold season or winter season mainly, and crowded conditions can lead to pharyngitis or sore throat. Now 30 to 65% etiology is idiopathic ones. We never know by which means we have acquired or by which is the causative agent. So this is in among 30 to 65% cases, this is idiopathic, 30 to 60% cases viral, 5 to 10% cases are bacterial, and among these 5 to 10% cases, group A beta hemolytic streptococci is most common bacterial pathogen causing pharyngitis. Then 15 to 36% are the pediatric cases among all sore throat cases, whereas 5 to 10% are only adult cases. And this is basically a disease of children. And as soon as a patient of sore throat come to us in OPD, then we ask the patient, after taking history, we ask the patient to open the mouth. Then in mouth, what we can see, redness and any exudate over the tonsillar area or peritonsillar area, or at the posterior pharyngeal wall. Then we can see some coating over the tongue, and blisters can be there, or ulceration can be there at the level of throat. So this is how the patient will present to us. So sign and symptoms are, whenever there is infection anywhere in our body, we will get fever. So fever will be there. Redness or swelling of throat, and sometimes white patches like this over the tonsillar area can be there. This is basically exudate, and sometimes a membrane formation can also be there if infection is due to Corynebacterium diphtheria. Then headache, irritation in the throat or pain in the throat will be there. Difficulty in degglutination or swallowing can be there. Headache will be there. Stomach ache is quite common in children's. Nausea can be there. Chills can be there. Loss of appetite may be there. Swollen lymph node, cervical lymph node may be swollen, and difficulty in swallowing can be there. So these are the signs and symptoms with which the patient will come to us. Now, how to diagnose? I told you that we have to examine the throat and whether any exudate is there, any blisters are there, any vesicles are there, ulcerations are there, redness is there, swelling is there, then we have to advise the patient to go for laboratory diagnosis. So how to collect the sample and how to transport the samples to the microbiology laboratory? Obviously, we have to take 2 throat swabs. We can take nasopharyngeal swab as well, but throat swabs we have to take, and if any membrane is there, then we have to take part of that membrane. If any exudate is there, then while taking swab we should try to cover up or to take up the exudate also. Then nasopharyngeal swab or nasopharyngeal aspirate or throat washings can also be taken up, and swabs can be of calcium alginate or Teflon coated swab. Then Serum can be taken for antibody detection, especially in case of infectious mononucleosis. And swabs, Dacron or rayon swabs should be preferred if we are sending the samples for PCR. And cotton swabs should be avoided if we are suspecting Bordetella pertussis. Reason being, they contain fatty acids, so this will be toxic to the Bordetella organism. So throat swabs from oropharynx or behind the mouth cavity can be taken up. 2 sterile swabs should be taken up, and one is taken for direct microscopy, the other is for culture. Swab should be rubbed over the tonsillar fossa, pseudomembrane if present, and finally the posterior pharyngeal wall. And if possible, we can take part of membrane with the swab. And these swabs should include exudate which is present in the throat and should be quickly sent to the lab. If not so, then swab should be refrigerated. And these streptococci, they may remain viable over the swab for 48 to 72 hours. Whereas rest of the organism, they may die. So immediate transport is required to the laboratory. Then what to do with the swab? As I told you that with help of one swab, we will prepare a smear. And the smear should be subjected for direct microscopy after gram staining and Albert staining. If the physician are suspecting for diphtheria, then obviously we have to proceed for grams and Alberts both. If they are only suspecting streptococcal infection or any other bacterial infection, then we can go for gram staining. And culture, second swab is subjected to the culture over the blood agar, Loeffler serum, potassium telluride agar, and sabrodextrose agar depending upon the causative organism. If candida infection is suspected, then we can inoculate the swab over SDA. And if diphtheria is suspected, then or Corynebacterium diphtheria is suspected, Loeffler serum or potassium telluride agar or cysteine telluride agar is the medium chosen for growing diphtheria organism, and blood agar for growing streptococci. So this is basically for bacterial pharyngitis detection. So colony morphology, colonies over the blood agar plate will be incubated for 24 to 48 hours, and after that we take out from the incubator and we examine for the colony character. If Streptococcus pyogenes is the causative organism, then there will be pinpoint 0.5 to 1 millimeter size round or convex colonies will be there. They will have entire margins, grayish white, no specific order. And these colonies may show or they will be showing wide zone of beta hemolysis because group A streptococci, they are showing beta hemolysis over the blood agar plate. Then if such type of colony character is there over the potassium telluride blood agar plate PTA or this cysteine telluride agar plate, then black colored colonies will be there, and these colonies are indicative of Corynebacterium diphtheria. If over the plate, either over the nutrient agar plate or blood agar plate or sabrodextrose agar, white creamy mucoid colonies like this are there, then this goes in favor of Candida albicans. Now, once we have identified the colonies, then the first thing which we have to do is make a smear from the colony. We can identify the colonies by cross examination, but after that we have to proceed for a smear formation from the colony. Then that smear can be stained by Grams stain or Grams and Alberts both if we are suspecting Corynebacterium diphtheria. If we are suspecting fungus like Candida, then we can go for QOH mount or Grams both. So if after Grams staining, a picture under the microscope is like this, means gram positive cocci in chain, if they are there, then this goes in favor of Streptococcus pyogenes. Then if Streptococcus pyogenes we have recovered or isolated in our culture plate, then what we can do, we have to go for bacitracin sensitivity over sheep blood agar plate. So we have to inoculate like this lawn inoculation. Lawn culture is made of colonies of bacteria, and then we can apply bacitracin disc 0.04 unit bacitracin over a filter paper disc is applied in between this lawn culture. So like this we can apply, then incubate the plate, take out the plate next day. If this belong to group A streptococci, then we can see bacitracin sensitivity like this. And if this is resistant to bacitracin, then probably this is not group A streptococci or Streptococcus pyogenes. So this upper one is Staphylococcus aureus, which is resistant to the bacitracin, and this one is sensitive to the bacitracin. Now, if we are suspecting Corynebacterium diphtheria, or if we have isolated colonies of Corynebacterium diphtheria, black colored colonies over PTA, then we have to proceed for Albert staining also, which is helpful for presumptive diagnosis of Corynebacterium diphtheria. This shows green colored and L-shaped bacilli with bluish black metachromatic granule, and these organisms are showing Chinese letter form pattern. So this is V or L-shaped bacilli with bluish black metachromatic granule. This is suggestive of Corynebacterium diphtheria. Then we can proceed for toxigenic test, Alec gel precipitation test. This is a immunodiffusion test which has been described by Alec. A rectangular strip of filter paper soaked in diphtheria antitoxin 1000 unit per ml is placed on the surface of a 20% hot serum agar plate while the medium is still fluid. When the agar solidifies, the test strain is stirred at right angle to the filter paper strip. Then this plate is incubated at 37 degrees centigrade in incubator for 24 to 48. Then if the strain is toxigenic one, we can see like this. These are precipitation, line of precipitation where toxin and antitoxin mixes with each other or meets with each other. This is a filter paper strip having antitoxin, and this is toxigenic strain which is producing toxin. So such type line of precipitation will be there. And these two are non-toxigenic strain because they are not showing any line of precipitation, and this fourth one is also toxigenic strain. And after that we can proceed for animal inoculation test in order to give our final report to the clinician. Same thing, line of precipitation where the toxin and antitoxin mixes with each other. This is unknown strain. This is non-toxigenic strain. This is unknown strain which is of patient isolate showing this line of precipitation. So this strain is also toxigenic one. And we have inoculated non-toxigenic Corynebacterium diphtheria as a control here, which is not showing any line of precipitation here. So this is how Alec gel precipitation test is done. Now Candida albicans on Grant's staining will be showing a structure like this. These are nothing but budding yeast cell, and in Grant's staining they are gram positive one. Then if pharyngitis is due to Epstein-Barr virus, then this is the case of infectious mononucleosis. Then we have to proceed for Paul Bunny test. How the test is done? Heterophile antibodies, they appear in the serum of the patient if the patient is suffering from infectious mononucleosis. These are IgM antibodies which are produced against EBV, Epstein-Barr virus infection. And these antibodies, they appear in 85 to 90% of patients during acute phase of illness. And these antibodies, they are capable of agglutinating the erythrocytes of sheep. And their titer decreases rapidly after 4th week, and they are not detectable after 2 to 3 months. How the test is done? Inactivated serum. How we inactivate the serum? We have to keep the serum tube at 56 degrees centigrade in water bath for 30 minutes. So inactivated serum is taken in doubling dilutions, and this is mixed with equal volume of 1% sheep erythrocyte suspension. Then these tubes are incubated at 37 degrees centigrade for 4 hours and examined for agglutination. A titer of 100 or above is suggestive of sore throat arising due to infectious mononucleosis. So, what about the differential diagnosis? Maybe sore throat, maybe due to infectious mononucleosis. This is known as glandular fever. This may be epiglottitis, which require urgent admission. And gonococcal pharyngitis is a rare case. And diphtheria. This is very rare in developed countries, but this is quite common in developing countries like India. What are various complications of streptococcal sore throat? This can, if not diagnosed in time, not treated in time, then complications can be in form of otitis media, sinusitis, peritonsillar abscess, which we call as quinsy, suppurative cervical adenopathy can be there, and post-streptococcal sequelae in form of rheumatic fever and post-streptococcal glomerulonephritis can be there. Hence, this is essential for us to diagnose sore throat caused by this Streptococcus pyogenes. How to manage sore throat caused by Streptococcus pyogenes or group A streptococci? For this we have to give antibiotic, and antibiotic of choice is penicillin. But if the subject or the patient is sensitive to the penicillin, then erythromycin we can give. And given for 10 days in order to eradicate possible streptococcal infection. Otherwise, this can lead to post-streptococcal sequelae in form of rheumatic fever and post-streptococcal glomerulonephritis. Tonsillectomy is occasionally recommended for recurrent attack of tonsillitis, and this is considered only if 7 documented throat infection in the preceding year are there, or if 3 in each of 3 successive years are there. Here are some facts about the sore throat. Nearly 70% of sore throat occur due to viral infection and they disappear on its own. This is true. So, it also occurs by breathing dry and cold air during the winter months or through mouth if dry and cold air is taken up. Antibiotics will make streptococcal sore throat better. This is true. But if your immune system is strong, then you don't even need to take antibiotics. And sore throat does not cause snoring problems, but snoring can cause sore throat. And lastly, my advice is that if sore throat is there or if acute pharyngitis is there, then throat gargles with saline water, lukewarm saline water should be prescribed or should be advised to the patient along with antibiotics if we are suspecting streptococcal sore throat, and if it is viral then antibiotics will be of no use. So steam inhalation and saline gargles can be helpful in such type of cases. Thank you very much.